So per my husband's request, I will be making muffuletta sandwich, muffuletta bread, and a muffuletta sandwich. But before we start, I gotta have my tea. Alright guys, I know I'm kind of zooming through the pictures, but all the ingredients I'm using and the quantities will be in the description. Yes, this is sugar. I could not find my small sugar container. Personally, I add the sugar to the yeasty water because yeast likes sugar. It helps it grow. Once you're done with that, you let it sit and we move on to the flour. This is 3 cups of flour and I'm adding 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And so I had a brain fart and forgot to add the salt prior to the olive oil. So that first mix was kind of our pre-mix to get the olive oil incorporated with the flour. And then we have our main mixture where we're adding that yeasty water that we let sit for about 10 minutes. So some of y'all might have outstanding stand-up mixers. Mine unfortunately rates on an average, so I had to take it out and finish kneading by hand. Show it some love. You may have to incorporate a little bit more water. I actually did have to incorporate a little bit more water. I did it by little increments where I would moisten my hand and then work it into the dough as I was kneading. After you get it to a nice consistency where it's able to stay into like that nice round ball, then we grease our pan and let it sit for about an hour. Gotta have the toddler meltdown. Now, toddler meltdown aside, it's time to start the olive salad. Once you put it in the pan, don't forget to wrap it with saran wrap. When making your olive salad, remember this is kind of a rough chop or just like a personal preference. I like a little bit finer, guys. My husband likes it a little rougher chop, so find that happy medium for you. I'm obviously not following the exact recipe to a T of the traditional muffaletta sandwich. I'm by no means Italian, and I've actually never had a muffaletta sandwich. It was my husband's request, as I stated earlier. So think of this as Kenia's take on a muffaletta sandwich. So I'm adding kind of my own spice to it, you know? Make it your own. Recipes are meant to be made your own. This shallot was definitely spicy, I would say is the best word. Your girl was crying. Took a little bit to cut it. I was gonna do 1.5, but nope, couldn't take it. So the recipes we researched called for sherry vinaigrette. We used cherry vinaigrette because my husband thought it said cherry, not sherry. And as I mentioned earlier, like I said, this is my take on a muffaletta sandwich. I am Mexican, so you can never go wrong with jalapeno anything. So we added pickled jalapeños per my request. Now, even though we used cherry, not sherry, and then we added some pickled jalapeños, which isn't everybody's go-to when it comes to olive salads, it came out amazing. Time to do our final working with our bread. I had to stop and actually take this video just of how beautifully it rose. When you have your bread rise, you want it to rise double its size. So like I said earlier, you let it sit for an hour at room temperature, or you can even let it sit 2 hours. Now the muffuletta bread is supposed to be a very dense bread that allows you to pretty much soak all these juices from the olives and the olive oil and not let it get soggy. So here you see me patting it down and making it into the shape that I want. You almost want it into like a large disc, but you don't want it too thin, but you don't want it too thick. You just got to find that right consistency. After you find that right consistency, you cover it with a moist towel for about 30 minutes, again at room temperature. Afterwards, you can make an egg wash. I make mine with one egg and like about a teaspoon of heavy whipping cream. Now, I swore that I had white sesame seeds. I did not. I only had black sesame seeds, so we worked with what we had. And you know what? It worked. It came out and it tasted amazing. That steam was almost hypnotizing. I wish you guys could have seen it in person. Here we're just gonna add the olive oil layer. I personally like all sandwiches toasted, so I decided to toast it after I added the olive oil layer. Technically, you don't have to do that. That was just a personal preference of mine. Time to build our sandwich. I actually made two different kinds of bread. The one recipe that I'm sharing with you guys is the one that turned out the best in my opinion. So I kind of disregarded the other one. I worked on this pretty much all day, trying, like I said, two different types of recipes and making the salad and all that stuff. So I was more than excited to actually build the sandwich and be ready to eat it. So you're gonna catch me dancing here and there throughout the video. I actually ended up calling my husband over to help me record so that I could be kind of hands-free, and I wanted to record the actual slicing of the bread, and it was crispy, like the kind of good crunch you hear on Ratatouille when she's crushing the bread kind of thing. And my husband was so hypnotized by the sandwich that he recorded his feet. So you guys don't get to enjoy that video. Also, if you haven't noticed by the screaming in the background, I do have a lot of children.
You have a recorder of this?
Say muffaletta.
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 Muffaletta. Muffaletta.
Wait.
Me